Hey guys, thanks for joining me here. I'm going to be talking today about the conscious waking mind's own legitimate structure of logic. So we have, it's the mind is already always listening. It's always chiming in. It's always continuing to rationalize and make context for what the external environment is providing to it through the photoreceptors of the eyes. It goes directly into throughout your entire brain, all the way through your cortex and optic nerve into your pineal gland. But this is a very entrenched and entangled system of light stimulation inside of the brain, and you are actually legitimately bringing in the photonic energy of the external world into your internal world through the optic nerve. So it's really important you guys understand that, and that's why the brain and the sight are so connected with logical processes and visualizations and being able to structure and things around form. Form is a way to facilitate a reality and a figure for the intelligence of the conscious waking mind to imprint itself onto, and thoughts to entrench itself into a form, so to speak, and shape it in the way that the mind wants to shape it. So anyway, proceeding on here, we see a lot of people in our day and age, our culture, living by these guidelines. And our whole culture is in avoidance to looking bad, and also the wanting of looking good. So this is a whole reward and risk kind of transactional thinking, and it's either dualistic, good and bad, pain and pleasure, and that kind of thinking and that kind of logic will greatly reduce any creative projects or aspects to your own individual being. And the whole reason to uplift and awaken yourself is to come into the individuation of the soul and the soul's purpose. So in order to be good or bad, going through all these just would really quickly, if someone else is good or bad for me, right? I should or shouldn't do this. What's the problem? Always trying to figure out how things work, how I can wrap my mind around it. The solution, always trying to find a solution to a problem, to something that it can wrap and form itself around in a intellectual manner, as well as a egoic kind of domination matter, dominating somebody else through status or through class. Monkeys have this same hierarchy as we do as humans. They have a generally, like, the dominant males and the biggest and strongest males in a monkey's troop or group will be the one that coordinates defensive efforts. So we see that we see that in our military. We see the biggest, baddest dudes in the military coordinating defensive efforts. For what, though? See, like, there's a lot of people on Earth that are not fighting. Of course, there are some that are. So I could see the relevance and definitely the need for that. However, those of us who don't want to be involved in that cycle of death and rebirth, of fighting and living and dying and fighting and living and dying. This all goes back to a fundamental cycle that we live throughout our day. We go to work, we fight through our day, our work week, our work day, and then we collapse and we die and get home. And then the next morning we rebirth and we go back and fight. And this is a constant cycle of pain and pleasure, discontent and complacency, and ultimately it's going to ravage the own soul's purpose of incarnating here on the planet. So going further into it, the problem always wants to be figured out by the logical, rational mind. The answers do. The mind wants to form its own stance and egoic identification with something, whether it be in a line with its own previous knowledge, or if it's not in line with its own conscious awareness of itself and what it deems as reasonable or practical or real, then the mind will not identify with that, and then it will disagree with it, and it will demonize it because it does not know that. So automatically we make a disconnection from understanding others, and we understand from really building rapport with others, because we don't see a rational previous existing notion of us and them. We don't see that which we are and them because they look different, or they speak different, or they come from a different country, or they belong to a different political party. So the list goes on. The mind always wants to know what's in it for me. How does it relate back to me, and how can it meet my needs and what I previously have known throughout my life to be valuable. So in this constant cycle of continuously pain and pleasure cycles, it will want to justify its own actions based on its own values that have previously been conceived. But if the organism or the human being is completely miserable, then the values need to change. It's simple as that, guys. You need to change your values. You need to identify what it is you're living by unconsciously. And I can just try to explain that in other videos as best as I can, but I'll just continue on for the sake of this. Him and her, what is in it for me, what's in it for him or her, what's in it for them, always being suspicious of the other person, always being possessive of your own stance as a mental form or identification of what you have determined yourself to be, your reality to be, your thought constructs and beliefs based on the previous knowledge that is not new. So when we're faced with a new idea, a new philosophy, a new problem that's conceived by the mind, which problems are not a physical thing. Like how can you point to a rock, how can you point to a tree and say it's a problem? There's nothing inherently problematic about it. The mind makes it a problem through not having it ordered the way that it wants to be ordered. And I could go on about that. I just want to make this video as short as possible though. True and false, right or wrong, it goes right in with logic and left brain thinking, because it's a very three-dimensional resource-based thinking. And what I really want to express in all my videos is a higher awareness of our consciousness and our reality. And I want to help people go to the next level of living and live beyond the karmic cycle of birth and death and pain and pleasure, because it's only going to feed itself if you feel and are driven to experience one or the other. And if you are on this risk and reward system, it's going to drive you into a state of unconsciousness, which I hope to explain in this video and other videos. The brain wants to legitimize, and this of course is not all bad. Nothing's good or bad about all this stuff. It's just I'm pointing out what the waking mind and the previous notions that the mind bases its reality on, and I want to declare that there are no laws. Animals don't have laws. Humans don't have laws. Humans only have laws because we put them on each other. We put them in place, and there is nowhere in the Earth's crust, mantle, or below, miles deep, that you will find laws of humans or animals. Laws are completely determined by habits, and in order to change your habits, guys, we need to break free from the cycle of unconsciousness of all of this stuff. So, continuing to live the way you're living, miserable or confused, depressed, whatever it is, you're continually being resigned to your own power as a human being. You're continuing to be cynical and not take your life seriously, and to continue to repetitiously go into the pain and pleasure cycle of death and rebirth, and of ultimately that threshold of animal and human consciousness. We do have the ability to make choices and free will. If we want to move our hand up here, we can, and we can move our hands and shake our bodies the way we want to, but an animal ultimately does not have that same freedom. So, taking the freedom back, guys, taking the freedom, taking the values and your own integrity back into wholeness, back into who you are as an individual, as a unique spirit and expression of the intelligence that reigns over all of us, is so important. And I'm very passionate about this. I want to help all of you to see things in a different light, and to up level and upgrade your life. So I do have a website if you all are interested in any coaching sessions, or astrology readings, or Polarity Therapy, Hypnotherapy. Please contact me. I love you all, and please contact me, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Love you.